This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
You are listening to the FinFans podcast, where we discuss everything Miami Dolphins. It's the off season, and we're looking forward to a fresh new start under different management in 2026. We hope you'll join us and enjoy the show. And it's another FinFans podcast. With me tonight is Louis Rigoni.
Hello, hello.
And Matt Mariani.
Hey.
FinFans. Hey.
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah, I know, right? Lots to be excited about. I'm back.
What a surprise. Oh, my God, Mike. Why didn't you tell me? Whoa. No,
I've been back. It's you being back is the big deal for this show. That means we're closer to football. The A-team's here.
Well, Chris isn't going to like that comment, man. I can tell you that.
I meant you and Mike, and I meant Chris. Like, Lewis's voice means we're closer to real football. That's what it means to me. So
I gotcha.
Well, we appreciate that. We definitely are closer.
We're getting close.
You can feel it in the air.
Yeah.
Really? All I feel is heat in the air, Mike. I mean,
that's it. That's what you feel. That's it.
Man, is it brutal out. My goodness. It's been brutal.
Perfect training camp weather.
Yeah. For the Dolphins, absolutely. They should be in the best shape of any football team in the NFL. With what the conditions they have to practice under,
Yeah.
And then they go into that absolutely beautiful facility that our ownership has presented to them. So, they struggle for a few hours in the sun, but then they can go into the spas, get massages. It's unbelievable. It's ridiculous compared to what the old guys had to do.
Yeah, we talked a couple of weeks back about our old visits to training camp, and I think at listening to it back, we got kind of mixed up there. We went to Biscayne College, which was later named St. Thomas University.
Yeah. I think I named it St. Thomas, right? But it was Biscayne.
I don't remember what you called it, but
it was a shithole.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember the weight room?
I remember everything.
It was like the 12 by 12 area outside.
It's a joke. It was so funny because, Marino, after his rookie season, I mean, the 48 touchdown season, I should say, those years we were going down there, and there was literally one guy that worked security for him, and they would walk over to this lunchroom. Shula would walk right past us. He'd sign autographs for us. Marino, the same thing. And, we just had we could walk all around the parking lot right up to the guys' cars as they were leaving at the end of practice. I mean, it was so different. You could never in a million years get close to any of these guys like that. It was we were fortunate, to say the least.
It was fun. It was definitely a fun time. That whole era was fun, the Marino era and
MTV.
Yeah, it was just a fun time. But
80s, Matt.
You're telling me there was a point where being a Dolphins fan was fun. It didn't feel like work, and it wasn't excruciating and agonizing.
It was exciting. It was really exciting.
It's funny, Matt, because the team went through a transition, right? We watched New England, take a couple of years off, and then they wound up in the Super Bowl last year. Regardless of whether we feel they were fortunate or not, because they kind of were, they had a lot of things go their way. But the Dolphins, they went to the Super Bowl with Woodley in '82, and 2 years later, a whole different team went to the Super Bowl in '84 against the 49ers. So yeah, it was just a great time. And I mean, they were the most explosive offense in football. You know, MTV was at its peak. You know, what's that, Mike?
In football history.
Yeah, at that point, yeah. Well, passing wise, yes.
Yep.
I mean, you know, their running game overall, their offense was, you know, I mean, you know, the Steelers had 2,000-yard rushes. So did we back in the 70s with Merck and Zonk. But, you know, to get to my point, you know, their offense, their passing game was like nothing that anybody had seen before. Fouts and Air Coryell were just phenomenal. I mean, they were fantastic. But
love to watch them.
They were great, but they had a running game. They had a guy named James Brooks. They had another guy named Chuck Muncie.
Yep.
They had a phenomenal overall offense. But passing-wise, I mean, Marino just shattered all the records. I mean, it was just insane, and it was just exciting. I keep bringing up the MTV and stuff because that was at its peak, and it was just like everything was at 100 miles an hour in the 80s, you know, especially down in South Florida, because on top of the Dolphins, you also had the Hurricanes that were, I mean, they had Jim Kelly and then Bernie Kosar and then Vinny Testaverde. And, you know, Jimmy Johnson was down there, Michael Irvin. I mean, they were throwing, I mean, Hall of Fame players, you know, guys that made the NFL Hall of Fame. They were spitting guys out left and right like that. Ray Lewis.
Warren Sapp. There's so many of them.
Oh, my God. Russell Maryland. Michael. I mean, like I mentioned, Michael Irvin, Brian Blades. I mean, all these guys were Pro Bowl or Hall of Fame players in the NFL. And they were spitting them out like they were nothing. So the 80s in South Florida, I mean, it was just incredible. You had, you know, Bernie Kosar. Did I mention him? I think I went right past him. Or did I mention him?
No, you said him.
I think so.
I did say him? Okay.
Yeah, you said him.
I hope so, because he was fantastic too. But it was just a great time to be a Dolphin fan and to be in South Florida. And we were fortunate. We really were to, you know, experience that.
You don't know, you don't know what the great times are until you leave them.
Well,
you know, we look back on that, and you know, you can't replicate that. There's no way you can replicate that.
You know what? Even if we get back to where we were, you know, at some point, you know, I don't think it can be replicated to a point to where you can enjoy it the way we were able to enjoy it. To actually go to championship games, you know, twice.
Yeah.
And, you know, over a few year period and afford to do it.
And I went to their Super Bowl.
And you went to their Super Bowl. I mean, you know, that's gone, you know, for the average fan. I mean, even somebody who, you know, has a decent amount of money, it's gone. It's gone. You know, there's no way. Even playoff games, you know, just regular, you know, divisional games, whatever, the prices on these games are just, you know, over the top, you know, so it can't be replicated, Mike, regardless of whether we get back to a very high level of playing football and playoff games, so on and so forth. To experience it as a Dolphin fan, it will never be the same. You know, just it'll never be. We were, like I said, extremely fortunate to experience all that.
I agree. So they have their second practice of training camp today. And yesterday, obviously, was the first practice. And you're hearing some good things out of camp. Matt, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, a lot of interesting little bits from the first 2 days. It sounds like the defense won both days. They said the
definitely.
passing game wasn't sharp. I think Willis had multiple interceptions both practices. But I saw most of the interceptions.
I don't
and
think
they were
he
almost
did today.
Yeah, he definitely had two today, and both of them were off of wide receivers' hands. I saw one specifically.
Okay.
He hit Tutu Atwell in the hand, and it bounced out of his hands. And I think Michael I don't know how you say his name. The rookie safety, 5th round. Taff. It's just Taff. Okay, it's got 2 A's and 2 F's. I'm not sure how you say it. He came up with the interception, and I heard he's been really good for the first 2 practices. I think he's going to make a push for the starting safety job after 2, because, I mean, who's starting at safety?
All right, let's not get carried away. It's only
I know. It's only been 2 practices, but it's nice to see somebody stepping up.
Yeah, for sure.
He does have a legitimate shot. I mean, that's all you hear about him being a football player.
Right. So
go ahead.
Jake Rodriguez had a punch out for a fumble, or Jacob Rodriguez. What did I say?
Jake.
Okay. Chris Johnson had a punch out for a fumble and recovery. He got it out of Ollie Gordon, I think. Ollie Gordon had a really nice run behind Paul and Proctor. It's not, and I guess the star of the last 2 practices has been Chop Robinson. They said he's been a menace for 2 practices. So I heard. Yeah, on both sides, attacking
and Willie Gay
Austin Jackson. Yeah, yep. Willie Gay had an interception.
His, training camp performance.
Who's that? Willie Gay.
Yeah,
Willie Gay had an interception day 1.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess Jordan Brooks has looked good. The interior defensive line has looked not terrible. They've been standing guys up. They've been stuffing the run a little bit. A-Chain looks like his usual self. He's dominating as usual. Lots of interesting tidbits from the interviews as well. Mike, you want to add anything to it?
Well, we talked before the show about Hafley's decision, not to do 7-on-7s.
Yeah.
And I particularly love it.
Right.
I'm a big fan of that. I think you play with 11, you should practice with 11.
Right. He gave the rationale for it. He said he was watching the plays, and he was mostly watching from the defensive perspective, and it was 2nd and 10 after a good play, and then they were offsides, so it turned into 2nd and 5. And what should have been, if it was 7 versus 7, that never would have happened. But this is how you practice these situations. Offsides, these penalties, these pre-snap stuff. This happens in games. And I like that Hafley, he brings this in and tries to not make things ideal for the players, because it's not going to be ideal during the games. So Austin Jackson was interviewed today, and he said after 2 practices, and he's the only guy on the team who would know this, he said these practices feel a lot more like Brian Flores' practices. So yeah. I don't know what you take away from that. Yeah, that was an interesting thing to say today. Mm-hmm. But, when you fire a coach, you usually go the opposite extreme, right? We fired Brian Flores, and we brought in this X's and O's offensive nerd who is all about, making the players happy. And that failed miserably. So we fired Mike McDaniel, and now we're going to bring in what looks like a hard-nosed defensive guy who cares about being tough, playing the right way, all the things that Flores cared about. It bounces back and forth. We'll see.
It does.
We'll see if Hafley's, successful in building up this culture. He's got his work cut out for him. That's for damn sure.
I think that he's an in-between,
I think so too.
I think he's going to work with the players, but he wants it back, right? Whatever he's given them, he's going to want it back. And I think that with McDaniel, it was just a one-way street. I mean, basically, it was everybody doing whatever the hell they kind of wanted to do, and a lot of that stuff is leaking out little by little. You hear the comments by guys like, as you mentioned, Austin Jackson and people that are no longer here, this anonymous stuff. I hate to hear that anonymous, but, I always say where there's smoke, there's fire. And we knew. I mean, looking at the product that was presented, the team, being unprepared at times and basically, going out and just playing very flat, especially at home. You never want to see that, and there were games where, it'd take us a half to get going. And then there were other games where, we'd look good in the, good in the first half, and then we'd come out in the second half and just be flat as could be. I mean, we were the worst team in the third quarter, I believe, last year, weren't we?
I believe so.
Offensively. I mean,
Point differential, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that there wasn't to like about the last regime, and as you mentioned, I think that everything that he's doing is and the fact that he's changing on the run, what they're going to do. I love that. I mean, you got to love that. You got to love the fact that he's like, you know what, we're not going to do this. We're not going to we're not going to just go by say a set format, game in or practice in and practice out, so on and so forth. Make the adjustments as you go along. We never saw that. We always saw the same product week in and week out, especially when the game started. You didn't see different game plans. So I love it. The fact that he's out there, I mean, I think the guys are going to really respect what they're doing. I never saw that, under the last regime, a lot of respect. I think that they loved him, McDaniel, for different reasons, but, they weren't for the right reasons, So I'm happy. I'm excited. I've been excited about this coming season. And, these are the reasons why. Just for, just a few things that you mentioned in regard to practice the last couple of days and what he's doing.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back for just a couple minutes, and we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Well, he talked about his methodology, for practice.
Right.
And today was their hard day.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll have a medium effort day and then a lighter practice.
Okay. That.
And then back to the hard. And the reason they do that is, to try and keep the players healthy.
Right. Healthy and fresh to some extent, It's early.
They're not going to beat them up, but they're going to practice hard. So,
right.
That's what you like to see.
Mm-hmm. And it is early. I mean, we still got a ways to go yet. I mean, we are going to see games in a couple of weeks, but I guess the first game is next Friday, right? A week from tomorrow. I believe the Hall of Fame game's on a Friday, or is it on a Sunday?
What day is it? The 6th?
Is it the 6th?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the game's on the 6th, so it's on Thursday. So it's a week from tonight. Wow, that's fantastic. Good. We like that.
Juju Brent says look good.
What's that?
Juju Brent says look good.
Yeah, we like Juju, right? Matt, we like Juju.
Yeah. I just one quick thing. We first preseason game is not till the 14th against the Commanders.
Okay, yeah. So
the week after.
2 weeks, yeah.
Right.
2 weeks,
game.
Yep.
Yep, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I like Juju. I mean, but back to that. I like Juju. He played good in the one game that he played last year. We'll see if he can stay healthy.
He was in more than one game.
You sure about that?
I think he played in 4.
Yeah, I think
he started 2.
Yes, I believe he started 2 games and played in parts of others. And, that's the knock on him. But you know what? He played very well when he did play. And, I've said it, and I'll say it again, that, among all these guys, you talked about the safety already, and now we're talking about Juju. There are going to be guys that are going to just, step up, and they're going to be players on this football team, and they're going to be solid football players for us. I mean, I don't know if we're going to see any Hall of Famers out of that group, but as long as they go out and they get the job done and they do it, at even an average level at this point, we'd be satisfied with that. We're concerned about the secondary. So, the safety you talked about, the rookie, Juju, I mean, we need help there. And some of these guys are going to be our starters, and we don't know where it's going to come from. You talked about the receivers. And the drops that they're having, Tutu. I mean, there's among that group of receivers. I mean, not everybody's going to be here. We signed Tutu. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to make the football team. It's simple as that. So guys are going to have to rise up, and there's going to be a lot of competition at certain positions, which I think is a very good thing as well. So.
One positive from the offense is that I've heard is that consistently Patrick Paul, Caden Proctor, and Aaron Brewer, that left side of the offensive line, has looked dominant in the run game. They are just pancaking everybody, and there's been big, huge runs on the left side for the last 2 practices. So you got to kind of love that. I mean, that's probably the most talented little section that we have on the team is that little left side of the offensive line. It's nice. It's
left side, it's not that little.
Right. That's true, but they don't take up much space on the field. It's just the 3 of them. It sounds like the wide receivers are really, really struggling. Malik did hit the other Malik Washington, for a deep pass today, which was nice to see from Malik Washington because he doesn't get deep very often. That's a dimension he's got to add to his game, is being available on those deep passes, because he's very good underneath, and he's very good at those shorter 3 to 6 yard routes, and he's got sure hands, and he's a nice little possession receiver. But it would be nice to see him add some depth of possession to his game, or depth of routes to his game, especially because Malik's got that big arm. I mean, if he's got that big arm, we need some deep threats to kind of spread things out. So that's the offense. I know that's pretty much sums up the offense. The wide receivers are struggling.
Clear, none of us were at practice. We're reading the same reports that everybody else is reading.
Yeah. We only get what they're reporting, but most of the reporters report the same stuff, so it's pretty reliable, I think.
Yeah. Tutu dropped many passes on the day. One pass went off his fingers and was intercepted by Zane Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, that's, he's got to get it together there. Like I said, preseason, I think you're going to see a ton of those guys playing. I mean, some of these guys that came over from other teams, I think you're going to see them on the field quite a bit during the preseason. Tolbert, yep. And Tutu. Who was the other guy we just signed recently? There's another one that they just brought in, and I cannot remember who the heck that was, but you guys aren't helping, are you?
Oh, Jalen Reagor?
Yes,
Jalen Reagor?
There you go, yeah. Reagor, yep. He's another one.
He's a former first-round pick, but he was a gigantic bust. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, but you know what? We've seen some reclamation projects, turn out to be, decent football players for us. So, you just don't know. I mean, some of these guys are basically on their last contracts or on their last leg, maybe their last, football games for that matter, So, people are going to have to go out there and bust some hump in order to make this football team. And these coaches, there's not going to be any buys on this team, as far as I'm concerned. I think that, they're going to put the guys that are working to want to be out there in that position, in the position to play. There's not going to be any handouts on this football team. Now, you mentioned Proctor, and I hope Chris is listening, because he was just so adamant over the fact that, he didn't like the fact that they drafted Proctor to play guard. And, I love it. I mean, you're looking at some beast on that left side, like you said, Matt. And, I think they're going to be a very, very good running offense behind those 3 guys, on that left side.
Aaron Brewer said something interesting today. He said after watching Caden Proctor play, Aaron Brewer feels that Caden Proctor, I mean, he's hyping up a teammate, and this is what he's supposed to do. But he said, I feel like Proctor could be one of the best guards in the league, one of the top guards in the league, just watching how athletic he is, how young he is, and how big he is.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing, Aaron Brewer, and this is a point I wanted to make about this training camp. This training camp feels very different than other training camps. Mm-hmm. There's no drama which is very odd for a Miami Dolphins training camp. I know we're only 2 days in, but I'm seeing the leaders.
Well, there's been no drama at all since last season ended.
Yeah, right.
I was going to say, Mike.
Well, what I like seeing is
nothing in the off season like we've seen in the past.
The 3 guys who got paid, A-Chain, Brewer, and Brooks, are really, really stepping up in leadership roles and being vocal on this team, and they're explaining how they're taking the young guys under their wing. And they've been very open and honest about this process, and I'm kind of loving it. Like Aaron Brewer said, he brought Jonas Savanaia and Caden Proctor with him to his contract extension signing because he wanted them to see that, like, this is you can do this. Like,
this could be you.
I came from nothing. I was an undrafted rookie, and now look what I'm doing. If you put in the work and if you listen to me, and you follow and you listen to your coaches, this could be you. Exactly. So I kind of love that. I kind of love that A-Chain, Brooks, Brewer, Sealer, they're taking these young guys under their wing and they realize like what this team is and they're being honest about where they are in their development and what they're trying to build. And that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing, being honest about where they are as a team right now. So they're not having any false pretenses about we're going to the Super Bowl this year. They're just saying like, okay, we're starting from scratch right now. Let's build this the right way. Let's do this the right way. Let's be tough. Let's be strong. And A-Chain said today, you know what? I'm glad teams are underestimating us because they're going to have a long day if they underestimate us. Yep. And that's the right way to look at it. So, yep. All right.
I think. You know, when you look at the guys that you mentioned, Matt, from number 1 to number 4, the 4 guys that you mentioned, because we haven't been mentioning Sealer at all over the last couple of weeks, and I'm glad you threw him in there because we've kind of forgotten about him because he was signed to the extension last year, I believe, right?
Yeah, so 2 years ago.
It wasn't 2 years back. So anyway, with all that being said. You know, you're talking about 4 quality football players and 4 quality individuals. And the fact that this regime recognizes that, this new regime recognized that. I've talked about this on the last podcast and brought these guys back says a lot because they could have traded them. They could have made them walk, and they didn't. They chose to have them here, pay them. You know, what they felt was, a fair offers across the board. They all got nice contracts. Everybody's happy. The team sees that and sees that they were rewarded for what they've done. And, it's nothing but a positive thing, compared to, what we saw in the old regime to where guys were getting extensions. And, you're scratching your head. You're like, okay, well, why? Why are you doing this? It's not a necessity. It just isn't. Let the season play out. You don't need to sign an old receiver. Waddle was coming off of an average year, the year that they re-signed him. They extended him. So, the point of the matter is that they're making smart decisions compared to the old regime. And I can't wait till we're not even talking about the old regime anymore, to where it's just we focus on what these guys have done, where they have put us, because I truly believe we're going in the right direction. And, we forget about all of these just ridiculous moves, over and over and over again, the decisions that they made. And we're talking about is the smart decisions that this new regime is making and what they're going to make going forward.
Well, speaking of decisions they've made,
earlier,
I guess late last week, or earlier this week, they signed Ceylon Farrell, a defensive end who went to Clemson. Mm-hmm. And he was the 4th overall pick by the Oakland Raiders in 2019. What do you know about him, Matt?
he was considered a major reach when he got drafted 4th overall to the Raiders. Mike Mayock was the GM of the Raiders, and it was his first year being the GM, and everybody was not quite sure if Mayock deserved that job, and they were very critical of that pick, and the people who were critical of that pick turned out to be right, because Farrell's done nothing in his career. So he's got a big elite body. He's coming from Clemson. So far he's just been a waste of talent in the NFL. So I don't know what's stopping him. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got everything that you need except the stats and the work ethic, I guess. He's never been successful anywhere, so I wouldn't hold your breath on him being successful for us. But
he was the 2018 ACC Defensive Player of the Year.
So he was really good in Clemson, yeah, but he's never had done anything in the pros. But he's gonna have an opportunity in Miami. He's not playing behind anybody. He's got to beat out David Ojabo and Josh Uche and Cameron Good for snaps.
I imagine he'll be a rotational player.
Yeah, right. So he's very likely to make the team just based on his talent, and he's got some experience. So he's got a leg up on the guys we got on the roster. I wouldn't expect a whole lot from him, to be honest with you, though.
Yeah. I mean, they need help there. I mean, you're going to see, boy, oh boy, I think that position more than any, they're going to try to grab guys from other rosters once.
Churn.
Yeah. They're going to, it's just, as far as I'm concerned, it's by far. I mean, we could talk all we want about secondary and the wide receivers, but I mean, my goodness, pass chop Robinson, there is like,
it was not a certainty.
There's not, yeah. I mean, literally. I mean, if every other edge guy got cut, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we just need bodies, I mean, it's something that that's
write it down.
Yeah,
we're gonna be pleasantly surprised by David Ojabo this year. He's gonna have some nice moments.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
I hope you're right. I think the interior and the linebackers are going to be, very good for us. My concern is the pass rush. And you know what? If you can blitz and get to the quarterback and create issues, and we talked. I don't know if it was before we got on or when we first got on. We have the Raiders in week 1, and Kirk Cousins is just going to be sitting back there. He's not a guy that we have to worry about running out of the pocket. So, week 1, you may see a lot of blitzing.
Hafley has not been a big blitzer.
Yeah. Well, Mike, Hafley has never had a group of edge players like we're going to have going into the season. So he may have to change his philosophy, to some extent, But, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, whatever they do, they do. I mean, the bottom line is, this is one of those years where it's not going to be perfect.
Yes.
But, what you're looking for, what I'm looking for is players to develop, Chop Robinson to take a step and become an efficient defensive end that can stop the run and rush the passer.
Right. Yep.
And,
Grant.
the guys they drafted to turn into something. And you're certainly seeing a little bit from the linebacker, Rodriguez. So that's good to see. And, just it's only 2 practices. It's got to continue. But, you want to see the draft picks flash. You really want to see that. And he is. And I guess Michael Taff is. And a few of the others. So
Chris Johnson has they said Chris Johnson hasn't lost any coverage. He's looked solid. He's played a little bit of nickel, a little bit of outside. That's all you can ask for in 2 practices, right?
Yeah. I mean, just don't get embarrassed. That's all.
Yep.
And make a play when it's there to make. Anything else you guys want to add?
I think we're good. We'll have a lot more to talk about when we have another week of practices to discuss. 2 practices in. We'll have another 7 to talk about next week, right?
I know they're off Saturday, I believe.
All right, Mike. Then 6. Okay.
Yeah. I think it is 6.
Yeah. You're getting technical.
Well, okay. My bad. So, anyway.
All right.
Before you know it, it'll be week 1 against the Vegas Raiders.
That's it,
There
right?
you go.
Yep.
The Vegas
So-
Raiders. Ugh.
2 days, no injuries. Let's hope that streak continues.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. That's the key. Getting through this whole preseason without any.
Now, too many major, setbacks.
That's correct.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week. And until then, fins up.
Fins up.
Fins up, Dolphins.
And that's the end of another show. I want to thank the Believe Network for allowing us to join them this year, and the Dolphins Talk Network, who we've been a part of for many years. I want to thank both of these outfits. They're exceptional people, and we're proud and honored just to be a part of it. Until next time, take care.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.